If you're a music producer trying to make money by selling their beats online in 2024, then this is gonna be by far the best video for you. Because I'm gonna break down exactly what you need to do to sell beats online in the current digital space, from the very basics of exporting and uploading your first beat, all the way to advanced topics like email marketing and scaling your business to become a full-time producer. So whether you're trying to make your first sale, or you already make sales consistently but want to expand your business, this is the perfect video for you. This video is a culmination of years of my own experience selling hundreds of beats online full-time, along with the invaluable amount of knowledge I've obtained by working with the Heat Agency and our clients for last year. That means I'm spilling all the sauce today and leaving nothing out. This is gonna be an extremely in-depth video, so feel free to use the timestamps below to find specific topics you're interested in learning about. There's not gonna be any hooks or crazy editing to push retention, just straight information and me spilling my brains out for you guys. Ryan and Robin are probably gonna get mad at me for giving away too much sauce in this video, but to be honest, who cares? So let's just get into it. I'm gonna cover the proper mindset that you need to grind through the initial hurdles of posting type beats online, how to produce and mix your beats so that artists won't be able to resist using them, and everything you need to know about marketing your beats, from understanding beat licensing all the way to advanced topics like email marketing. This video is for producers who already make amazing music and are ready to build an actual business around producing music online. If you've only been making music for a few months, then this video probably isn't for you, because you more than likely don't have the skills to make good enough music at the rate necessary to build your business properly. This also isn't for producers looking for a get-rich-quick scheme or to blow up overnight and start making 10K a month. As much as I'd love to be able to offer you that kind of promise, it's just not realistic for everybody, and anyone who tells you otherwise is probably just trying to get your money by selling you a dream. Now that we've got that out the way, let's get started and get into what your beat selling business is gonna look like. Your business model for selling beats is simple when you break it down to these 5 steps. 1, create the beat. 2, upload the beat. 3, promote the beat. 4, an artist finds the beat. And 5, the artist buys the beat. And that's it. Notice how I didn't say anything about having the latest and greatest plugins and gear or a fancy music degree. All you need to start a successful business as a music producer is your beats, a marketing strategy, and the proper mindset. Everything else is just noise and should be treated as a distraction. Expensive gear might be fun to use and help you make beats easier, but at the end of the day, artists don't care about the gear that you use. You can have $1 million studio and list off every single piece of gear and plugin you own proudly on your website, but that's not gonna make a rapper want to buy your beat if it's still whack. What's really gonna put money in your pocket is what I'm gonna call the 3 fundamental M's of a beat selling business. And those 3 M's are mindset, music, and marketing. Shout out Robin for that. I borrowed this idea from him. These 3 things are what separates the producers who become successful and make their dreams a reality versus the ones who don't and just become bitter. Finding the right balance between these 3 things can be challenging, but it's essential for your long-term success. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into the first M, which is mindset. Having the right mindset is just as important as having great beats and knowing how to market them, and here's why. Here's an example of a producer with the wrong mindset that's gonna hold them back. They think success will find them overnight after posting just a couple of beats, yet they're constantly waiting for the perfect moment to start and are obsessed with all the wrong things like gear and plugins. This type of producer gets easily overwhelmed and quits fast when things don't go their way, and that's why they'll more than likely never find success. Now on the other hand, here's an example of a producer with the right mindset. This producer knows they're gonna have to grind day and night for years to get what they want, and they're okay with it because they trust the process. This producer also thinks calmly and is just focused on taking actions that will lead to the results they want, completely separated from their ego. Now what's the difference between these 2 producers? Well, one has a growth mindset that will push them to succeed no matter what they choose to do, and the other has a fixed mindset that will hold them back and make them put the blame on everything else when things don't go their way. The difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset is simple. It all comes down to your attitude towards learning and personal development. A producer with the growth mindset will have a more resilient and adaptive approach towards challenges, and he's gonna be more committed to a lifetime of learning and will persevere through challenges that come with selling beats online. On the other hand, a producer with a fixed mindset is limited in their personal and musical growth. They're gonna gonna actively avoid challenge, they're gonna have a negative response to failure, and they're threatened by the success of others. Having a growth mindset as a producer trying to make a living by selling beats online will contribute a huge amount to your success. You'll be more adaptable to changes in the industry, you'll be more open to learning new production techniques, and you'll more than likely be able to persevere through the challenges that come with building a presence online. Now that we've talked a little bit about the right mindset that you should have, let's talk about the amount of time that's required for you to start seeing success selling beats online. First things first, starting a business selling beats online is not a get-rich-quick scheme. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you saying all you need to do to make $40K a month selling beats is just to listen to everything I gotta say, because that's not realistic for 99% of producers. Most businesses, and yeah, you become a business when you start to sell beats online, take 2 to 3 years to become profitable. And that's after the amount of time it takes for you to get good enough making music beforehand. Personally, I uploaded my first beat back on YouTube in 2017. I was using Traction at the time because all my favorite producers used it, and I felt super cool because it was apparently invite only. I had several periods where I was uploading beats daily, and even though I was able to make my first sales, I only got to a few hundred subscribers or so on YouTube. And my biggest beats back then probably only had like 1 or 2K views max. And I'll be honest, each time I stopped daily posting back then was because I got discouraged with the process and was frustrated by not seeing fast growth like I wanted. It wasn't until 2020 when I quit my job due to the pandemic and I made a commitment to myself to post a beat every single day, no matter what, for at least a year, or until I started to see some real success. In my mind back then, this was a last-ditch attempt at a career in music, and luckily it paid off for me. The first few months were slow and my views were low, but luckily I was able to make a few sales with a few artists that I actually liked at the time, and that helped keep my motivation high. It wasn't until 6 months into my daily posting journey that I started to see some real success, and that was after 6 months of barely any sales, all while I was burning through my savings, living on unemployment at my parents' house as a 23-year-old man. I know many other producers have come up through way tougher circumstances, but that's the type of commitment I'm talking about that you need to have to see success. Because if you aren't willing to go through the pain, there's plenty of other producers that are, and they're gonna find the results that you always wish you had because of it. Now, I know my story is a little extreme, and I actually recommend that you don't try and go full-time like I did, but I had to do what I had to do at the time, and luckily I made it work. And it's all because of the things I'm about to get into in the rest of this video that I was able to work out for me in the end. Last thing before I get into the rest of the video, you need to leave your ego and entitlement at the door, because it's only gonna hold you back and it's gonna make you bitter when things get tough, which, trust me, they are gonna get tough at times no matter what. Just because you spent years and years making music and you think your beats are amazing, that does not mean you're entitled to beat sales right away. Just because you spent a lot of money on gear to make good music and other services to start your beat selling business, that does not mean you're entitled to beat sales right away. No matter what reasoning or excuses you come up with, you are not entitled to anything, and you're gonna have to work for everything that you want to achieve. It's not gonna be easy, and honestly, it shouldn't be, because as they always say, if it was so easy, everybody would be doing it, which obviously isn't true with anything in the music industry. Now that you know the proper mindset you need to start selling your music online, we can start to get into the beats you're gonna need to be selling. Now, first off, this should go without saying, but you need to make sure your music is good enough, if not amazing, to be able to start trying to sell beats online. As a music producer, your beats are your product, and the quality of your product is everything when it comes to selling beats online. Especially in the current digital music landscape, YouTube and beat stores are all overly saturated with the amount of beats on there. But don't let that discourage you. The saturation of market is a sign that there's money to be made. Let all that competition be a good thing that pushes you to be a better producer and musician overall. If you try and sell your beats too early, you're more than likely gonna get very low views and no sales, and that's only gonna discourage you and probably just make you wanna quit. Honestly, I'd recommend putting a significant amount of time in to get really good at making music before you start to post your beats online. Personally, I started posting my beats online 2 years after I started producing, and that had already been after I spent years playing guitar and writing songs in bands before I ever made beats. This doesn't mean you have to take years before you start trying to sell beats. The amount of time it takes you to get good at making music can vary. Some producers can get really good in a few months if they really know life it and put everything they have into it, but for most, it's gonna take a little bit longer than that. The more dedicated you are to making better beats, the faster you'll get to the level you need to be at to start selling them. If you think your beats need more work before you start posting them, then you need to start improving them and working on your craft every single day. Making music every day is the best way to improve as a musician quickly, and it's gonna build up an extremely useful habit, especially if you wanna make music for a living. You can learn everything you need to make good music online for free nowadays. YouTube contains a wealth of knowledge and tutorials for you to make literally any style of music you can imagine, and there's tons of other paid resources out there if you really want to streamline your learning process. Personally, I'm 100% self-taught as a producer, and I learned everything I know by watching producers on YouTube and applying what I learned from them every single day for years. It's also extremely important that you're good at making music, because you're gonna need to be able to consistently make beats that can sell to further your career. Unfortunately, it's a numbers game with type beats on YouTube, and that means that realistically, you're gonna need to at least post dozens, if not hundreds of beats before you start to make a consistent living that you can live off of. If you don't have the skill set and the ability to keep up with that, you're gonna just end up frustrated and burnt out. So now you're great at making music and you can consistently make beats that will sell, we can move on to producing for type beats specifically. Now, this isn't gonna be a production tutorial at all, but I am going to get into the DAW at times to show you some real world examples from beats of mine that have performed well and break down certain elements to show you why. First off, let's just get any negatives out of the way when it comes to type beats. Simply put, using type beat in the title is just our way of marketing our beats to the biggest audience that would potentially be interested in buying and using them. This doesn't mean that type beats are uninspired and totally derivative of the artist in the title. It's just a better way to get eyeballs on our beats compared to other naming methods. Type beats get a lot of flack from other producers who aren't familiar with the technique, but just push that to the side because it usually just comes from old heads with no motion. With that being said, there are some things to take into consideration when it comes to actually making beats you plan on posting as type beats. First up, less is more, especially when it comes to most hip hop and rap beats. A lot of producers think that the more they do, the better the beat will be, and that's not the case most of the time. If you listen to popular songs, you'll see that the production is a lot simpler than you might think for being a professional song. And a lot of the times, what makes the beat truly hit is what you leave out and not what you add to the beat. All those snare hits and hi-hat rolls every 2 seconds in your beats might sound sick on their own, and they may even work for certain genres, but for the most part, those beats aren't usable to an artist. And if a rapper can't get on a beat, they're not gonna buy it or use it no matter how much they like it. Remember, we're making music with the intention to sell beats to artists, not just for listening purposes. If you wanna go all crazy in your music and do whatever you want in your production, that's fine. But maybe think about being a dubstep producer or something like that, because I think your beats will serve that purpose better. Now that we have that out of the way, let's move on to talk about what is going to drive the majority of the traffic to your beat store: the YouTube algorithm. Understanding the YouTube algorithm is key to growing your type beat channel. YouTube doesn't understand that there's a difference between your beat video and a Mr. Beast video, and it puts all the same expectations onto it, which naturally puts your video at a disadvantage. There's two important stats that determine how well your beat does in the YouTube algorithm, and those are watch time and viewer retention. Watch time is how much total time viewers spend watching your videos. YouTube likes videos that get high amounts of watch time because those videos keep viewers on their platform for longer, which leads to them being shown more ads and generates more revenue for the platform overall. And then these videos are rewarded with increased exposure from YouTube, and that all leads to a snowball effect that leads to videos going viral. Viewer retention is how much of your video that the viewers actually stay for. If 90% of your viewers click off the beat in the first 5 seconds, that tells YouTube that something is wrong with this beat video, and it probably shouldn't get recommended as much. On the other hand, if most of those who watch your videos stay for the entire duration, or better yet, they even play it back again, that's gonna lead to your watch time going over 100%, and that increased amount of retention is gonna trigger the YouTube algorithm to push your beat video out more. That's why most YouTubers create and edit their videos to maximize these factors. That's why channels that make hour-long documentaries or list videos try to pack in as much content into them as possible. And that's also why Mr. Beast makes his videos as fast-paced as they are. Unfortunately, as music producers, we aren't able to do the same things with our type beat videos, meaning viewer retention and engagement is 100% on the quality of your beat and its ability to hold an artist's attention. This is why good arrangement is key to your beat performing well. Your beats need to be engaging from start to finish so that the audience sticks around for the whole beat, leading to maximum viewer retention. And a good arrangement always starts with a solid introduction. Your beat intros need to be appealing and catch and keep the viewer's attention right away. This is a lot harder for type beat videos because the videos we post on YouTube aren't like the majority of the content on this platform. So you need to put a lot of effort into making sure your beat production is on point. It might be tempting to just start right away and get right into the chorus of your beat with all the melodies and drums playing at once. In 2024, attention spans are at an all-time low, so it only makes sense to get straight to the good stuff, right? Well, kind of. Without any anticipation or build-up, you risk losing a lot of viewers in that critical first 30 seconds of your beat because they just might not be into it because you gave it all away at once. So instead, it makes more sense to just have more thought out intros and to grab and keep attention on your beat that way. Let's take a look at some of the example of beat intros I've used to see success on my own type beats. Looking at my channel, I can tell you right away that the two most popular beats of mine both do the same type of intro, which is like this cool slowed in reverb type of thing. I would go ahead and play it and show you, but I don't want this video to get any copyright claims or issues like that, which it probably would if I played that audio. But just know that having something cool and catchy like that is gonna catch an artist's attention. Now here's some also quick bonus sauce right here. The third most viewed type beat on my channel was accidentally posted with 360 view, which is like that thing where it's like VR, where if you look around with your phone, it's gonna show different angles of the video. And that was completely by accident. I actually have no idea how that happened, but I used to make these beat visualizers with music videos back in the day, where I take the artist's music video and just like chop it up and reverse certain parts to make it my own. And I guess one of them accidentally had something that made the video 360. Every time I use that video in one of my type beat videos, it would put that same effect onto my type beat. It got a lot of attention, and honestly, I think this video only got that many views because of it. Even though it got 100K views, I only ever sold one lease for it ever, which is kind of crazy to think of it too. And then both of these little Zan type beats on my channel actually performed pretty well for another reason I said, and that's because they had longer instrumental intros before the drums came in. Even though everything was a little bit more chill and took some time to get into the chorus and the beat drop, that kind of allowed the audience to kind of vibe with the melody and kind of anticipate it a little bit more. For the last 10 years, it's been seeming like songs have been getting shorter and shorter. I mean, a lot of my favorite songs are barely just a minute long, and those artists have their own reasoning for that, honestly. But that same logic doesn't necessarily work for the type beats that we're posting, even if those beats are eventually just gonna be turned into minute-long songs. It's a lot easier for an artist to cut a beat to make it shorter versus them having to do the opposite to make it longer. I mean, yeah, of course, a competent engineer or artist can easily loop a section to expand that beat, but honestly, you can't expect that from most rappers. The less the artist has to do to create the final song, the better your chances of them actually finishing it and purchasing the license will be. And this goes back to the YouTube algorithm, because longer videos get more watch time, which leads to more engagement, and YouTube likes that. You should aim to make your beats at around 3 minutes or so, maybe even longer depending on the type of genre that beat is. Most songs are fairly simple production-wise when it comes to the actual elements in the beat, but where you can get really creative and crazy is in your arrangement. Adding beat cuts and sections to your beat where the artist can shine through is key to this. And it can change up the whole pace of your beat and keep it interesting without even adding any new sections at all. This includes cutting the beat up completely at certain moments, adding effects to certain parts to spice it up, and also removing certain elements and frequencies completely from sections too. You can also get creative and play around with FX in these sections. A lot of beats start off with a cool FX sound before dropping into the music, and others even add longer elements like movie quotes to build a mood. You can also do beat switch ups too, and tease it in the title and chapters to keep the artist hooked until that section drops. A perfect song to take inspiration from is Sicko Mode by Travis Scott and Drake, because that beat has like 3 beats in one song and they each cut to each other in completely different ways. Now obviously beats that do this take a lot more effort to produce, but the reward is well worth it because artists will notice and appreciate it over other beats that don't do that. Doing these techniques effectively are crucial for getting artists to actually want to use your beats and release music with your productions. Producers who understand this and get really good at arrangement will go way farther in their careers versus others that don't. Guys like Cody are kings at this, and their list of placements show for it for sure. So I got a beat of mine pulled up that has a few beat switches in it that are really cool, and I think really led to why it got more attention than others. So let's go ahead and break down a few of them. It's actually just 2 Looperman samples, but I combined them in a different way and changed the BPM between the 2 different types of sections in the beats. And it really gave it a unique thing. I was kind of doing a Babytron Detroit type of thing. And at the time he was doing a lot of beat switches in his song. So I was trying to imitate the same type of thing. This area of the beat is like kind of like a darker piano type of tone, but then it switches completely up into a different type of genre altogether, and it sounds all like the 80s, and it sounds like this. Yeah, so that's like pretty simple, and I even did like a little vinyl thing right here at the end to add a little bit more spice to it. And another thing I did in that dark piano part was simply just change the transposition of the second half, and I just lowered it down by just 1 note. And that little key change made a big difference in the vibe. Like, go ahead and listen to this. So see, nothing changed, everything else is the same, just the melody and the 808 went down by 1 note, and that made the beat a lot more interesting, and I didn't even really do anything else to do that. Beat tags are a great way to brand your beats, but if they're not done correctly, they can completely ruin the retention of your beat video entirely. Let's say you're listening to the craziest beat intro ever. The melody is building up in a dope way, the effects are rising up, and you're just waiting for that beat to drop because you know it's about to go insane. But then right before it drops, you hear those horns that they played all the time in 2010 with some dude with the shitty mic going, DJ Troy Vicious on the beat with the fart sound drenched in reverb. I don't care how hard the beat is after that, that terrible ass tag just ruined it, and I'm gonna click away instantly. That's how bad beat tags ruin good beats. If you're gonna make your own tags for your beats, make sure you actually take the time to do it right, or better yet, just pay for one from a professional. I got mine from voicetaggods.com for like $40 a few years ago, and it served me well over the years, and it sounds a ton better than those old tags I made before myself. Also, don't even think about putting those ridiculous
purchase your tracks today
tags in your beats. I understand you might want to protect your beats from getting stolen, but you're doing more harm than good and ruining the listening experience with tags like that. One tastefully placed tag at the beginning of your beat is good. You can even put another one in the middle and another one at the end of the beat if you really want to be cautious, but don't do any more than that. Honestly, just trust me on that. Having a clean mix and master on your beat is essential. Nowadays, a lot of songs are mixed with just that true track export of the beat and the artist's vocal mixed with it. And that's even on a lot of major productions you hear in the mainstream. This means that the mix of your beat has to stand out on its own, and you can't just expect every artist to buy trackouts and get a proper mix and master for their song. So the closer your beat sounds to a finished product, the better. Now, unfortunately, the loudness wars are still a thing, and louder beats have been put through a mastering chain which sound better to artists' ears compared to beats without it. This means that your beats need to be properly mixed and mastered on YouTube to be able to compete with everybody else. Now, I already know, if you know anything about mixing, then you know that mixing vocals to a beat that has already been mastered isn't the ideal situation, but it is something that mixing engineers have been dealing with a lot more and more nowadays. If you want to make their lives easier, you can make the version of your beat that you sell to artists be the unmastered beat. However, you should expect that some of the artists won't know why this version sounds worse, and they're gonna request the original louder version. If you wanna learn how industry beats sound before the artist gets on them, or even just without any vocals to distract you from hearing the mix and arrangement clearly, you can find some official instrumental versions of songs on Spotify. Producers like Metro Boomin release these instrumentals in their deluxe versions of their albums, and they're an amazing resource for you to study as a producer trying to sell your beats online. Okay, so now your beats are hitting it right, let's talk about exporting them so you can put them on your beat store the proper way. I always export my beats 3 ways when I finish a track that I want to release. I export the MP3, the WAV, and the trackouts for that beat. Every DAW has a different way for you to export your tracks, but the standards of your export should be the same no matter which DAW you're using. You need to export your WAV files as 24-bit, 44.1 kilohertz bit files, and for MP3s, make sure you export them at the highest quality, which is usually something like 320p. For trackouts, we want every single element of your beat tracked out individually on its own audio track. This isn't the same as stems, which is groups of instruments and drums already combined together in one audio track, though in some DAWs you're able to export those versions along with the individual tracks as well. Once you have these trackout files put together in the same folder, you can compress it and then you can upload that zipped file up to your beat store. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty of marketing your beats, let's first break down the actual beat leases you're gonna be selling. Beat licensing sounds all complicated and legal and all that, but when you break it down, there's only two main types of licenses you're gonna be selling. And those are non-exclusive licenses and exclusive rights to your beats. When artists purchase one of your beats from your store, they're technically not purchasing a beat, they're purchasing a license to use your beats in their songs commercially, and that license comes with certain terms and conditions set by you as the producer. The more rights you give and more audio files that you provide, the more that you can charge for your beat licenses. Non-exclusive licenses are also known as leases, and they're the most common way to sell your beats online. The most common variation of these types of licenses are MP3 leases, wave leases, trackout leases, and unlimited leases. But you can name them and set your terms however you like, really. This is your business and you're in complete control of how you sell your beats and how you run your business model. Most non-exclusive licenses have limits on streams or views. For example, your basic MP3 license may only allow like 50,000 streams on Spotify and other streaming services, while your trackout or premium lease might have a higher limit. Every beat lease also has an expiration date, meaning it's only valid for a set amount of time, and that's usually between 1 and 10 years. It depends on what you set on your contract. And then after that contract period is over, the artist needs to buy another lease to renew their contract. The license also needs to be renewed or upgraded when the maximum amount of streams and plays is reached, even if that's before the end of the license period. Now, on the other hand, exclusive rights can only ever be sold once, and that's for a much higher price than your standard leases. Once you sell exclusive rights to an artist, you're no longer allowed to sell leases of that beat to anyone else. This has no effect on artists who previously purchased a license for that beat because their contracts are still valid for the duration of their contract, and they're protected from any strikes that may come from the new exclusive rights holder. There are no limitations on how your beat can be used once exclusive rights are sold, and that's why they're so expensive and valuable to artists. To be honest, a lot of producers sell their exclusive rights for a lot less than they should be. And I don't blame them. I sold my first exclusive for like $250 years ago. But nowadays, I don't sell them for anything less than $1,000, and it's usually a lot more than that, honestly. Now, because of the price, buying exclusive rights doesn't make sense for about 99% of artists, even if they think that's what they need. It's also not in your best interest to sell exclusive rights often, because that means you won't be able to sell other leases of that beat on your store anymore, and you won't be able to make any more money with that beat after the exclusive rights are sold. If you have a beat that pops off and is making hundreds of dollars a month off of non-exclusive leases, it obviously doesn't make any sense to sell the exclusive rights and cut off that revenue stream. Because of this, you might find yourself not even offering exclusive rights to your most popular beats when they're hot, unless you're dealing with an artist with a big enough budget to give you what your beat is truly worth. Now that we understand how beat licensing works, let's move on to how we're actually gonna market our beats. Nowadays, the beat selling marketplace is extremely saturated and the amount of competition is brutal. But you shouldn't let that deter you. In fact, you should let it do the opposite and inspire you, because that just means the opportunity to find success and make a lot of money is there, and everybody just wants a piece of that pie. Now, due to the saturation of the market, that means that being able to successfully sell beats online is about 80% marketing and only about 20% music production. That might sound insane to you, but that's just the harsh reality, honestly. With the rise of the internet and social media, literally anybody can have a voice and find an audience online, meaning you don't have to go through the old gatekeepers of the old music industry to make a living as a music producer. And to be honest, I think that's a beautiful and an amazing thing, but it also means that just having amazing beats isn't enough to sell them if no one actually knows about them. And just posting them on your Instagram page to your 200 followers isn't enough to spread the word. You need a proper marketing plan in place so your beats can find themselves in the hands of the artist at the right time. Having a beat store is essential because the easier it is for artists to buy your beats, the more they'll do it. Sure, plenty of producers make a lot of money selling their beats through DMs or email or whatever, but there's no better feeling than selling a beat in your sleep or when you're not even in the studio. And that's only possible if you have a beat store that you drive traffic to through your marketing efforts. Nowadays, there's a lot of options for beat stores for you to pick to use to sell your beats. But no matter which one you choose, one beat store isn't necessarily gonna get you more sales than the other. BeatStars is the largest beat selling platform today, but 95% of my sales have been through my own pro page on the platform, not the BeatStars marketplace. You may hear about producers making good money just from artists finding them on the platform, but you shouldn't bank on that. Instead, you should focus your marketing efforts on what you can actually control, which is posting onto your own platforms and generating your own user traffic. Although a beat selling platform like Soundy has the most advanced e-commerce features not found in any other beat store, it's not really a necessary thing to make a living online selling beats, at least not in the beginning when your site traffic isn't even big enough to take full advantage of those e-commerce features. However, it is important to note that there are some pros and cons between different beat selling platforms. Like I said, Soundy is built to be the most advanced beat selling platform that takes advantage of modern e-commerce fundamentals that's going to help you sell more beats overall. But a platform like BeatStar is more commonly used by producers of all kinds, making it the easiest platform for you to use if you collaborate a lot, because at this point, 99% of all producers already have a BeatStars account. If your beats are hard, they're gonna sell no matter what beat store you use, so don't think about it too much. If you are interested in the advanced e-commerce features that Soundy has to offer, you can check them out in the description down below. Once you pick your beat store, you're gonna need to decide how much you're gonna sell your beats for. Picking a price doesn't have to be complicated at all. You might be excited to sell your first beat, but that doesn't mean you have to price your beats crazy low just to get someone to want to use them. Generally, basic licenses start at around $25 to $50 and go up depending on the license type and files included. Your unlimited lease is going to be your most expensive, and that's for a good reason. You don't want to set this price too low because allowing unlimited streams is a huge value for the artist using your beat. If you're confused about what to set your prices to, you can always look at other producers in your niche and see what they're charging. This is going to give you a good ballpark to start setting your prices, and it's also going to help you make sure you're not drastically undercharging or overcharging for your beats. If you're just starting out selling beats, you can't go wrong with setting your prices with something like this. $20 to $30 for an MP3 lease, $40 to $50 for a wave lease, $50 to $100 for a trackout lease, and $100 to $200 for an unlimited lease. And for exclusive rights, I don't recommend selling them for anything less than $400. Personally, I don't sell exclusives for less than $1,000 to independent artists, and I charge even more for major label artists. But to be honest, I did sell my first exclusive for only $250, so don't trip about it if that's how much you sold yours for as well. Now that we have our beat store chosen and the price is set for our beats, we're ready to start posting them on YouTube so that artists can actually find them and buy them. But first, we're gonna wanna make sure that our channel is set up right and is ready to go so you can make the best first impression to your audience. Now, if you haven't already made your channel yet, go ahead and do so first. I'm not gonna walk you through that process because it's very straightforward, but there's still a couple things you need to do before you start posting. First, you're gonna wanna make sure you have a profile picture for your channel. And if you can, it's always best to have an actual picture of you showing your face, because artists tend to connect more with producers if they can put a face to the profile instead of just being another logo. But if you're camera shy or you just don't post pictures of yourself online for whatever reason, then a good logo is good enough. Just make sure it's professionally made and looks good. Now, you don't have to go crazy with designing a logo at all. If you can't design one yourself, a $25 logo from Fiverr should be plenty enough. Next, you're gonna wanna make sure they have a channel banner set up. Again, this doesn't have to be anything crazy. If you can show your face in it, cool, but even just the logo with the word subscribe next to it is plenty enough. When it comes to making graphics for your channel, it's really easy to get caught up in the trap of spending a lot of hours on things that aren't really worth it. What I'm trying to say is, don't spend a lot of time or money on these graphics because they're not gonna be what actually sells your beats. Sure, it's extremely important to have a cohesive and professional looking graphics to back up your brand, but that shouldn't keep you from procrastinating on more important things, like actually making better beats. Once you have your graphics set up, you can move on to creating your channel description and links. Your channel description can be as simple or as complex as you want it to be. You can keep it bare bones like an Instagram bio, or you can write out just a bit more about yourself. Just try not to make it too long-winded or make it run on too much. The important part is to make sure you include your contact information in it, along with filling out all relevant links to your social media profiles, website, beat store, and email address. This is crucial because you want to make it as easy as possible for an artist to look you up after hearing your beat. You don't want to make them have to be Googling your name, trying to find your channel or your Instagram or BeatStars, because if they have to do that and go on a wild goose chase to find you, they're just gonna become uninterested and move on to the next beat. So make sure you include all that important and relevant information there. Now, On to some of the most important topics in this video, your YouTube titles and thumbnails. These are crucial to growing your channel, and if you mess up here, you're just shooting yourself in the foot and you're making it impossible for your beats to get heard. There's so many times where I'll come across comments on YouTube saying that selling beats is dead, blah, 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 this and that. And then I'll click onto their profile and I'll see the worst titles and thumbnails imaginable, and I can't just help to laugh to myself a little bit. But as important as they are, having good titles and thumbnails isn't rocket science, so let's get into it. Let's start with the thumbnails. Your YouTube thumbnails have to be eye-catching enough to get the viewer's attention when scrolling and make them actually pay attention to your video and title so that they can decide whether or not they want to listen to your beat. Bad thumbnails don't draw attention from the audience, and they might even turn them away because of how ugly they are, while good ones pick the viewer's curiosity and lures them in. Now there's a couple of ways you can go about choosing the types of thumbnails you use for your channel. The first and easiest is to just use good pictures of the artist you're using for your type beat. This usually works because if you're posting Drake type beats and you use flashy images of Drake in your thumbnail, then of course artists that are interested in Drake type beats will click on it. The trick with artist pictures is finding the right images to use. I mean, sure, you can go on Google and find hundreds of pictures of any rapper you may decide to target, but you need to make sure that the pictures you're choosing are actually interesting and eye-catching. Now this can get really tricky, especially if you post very often, because you might run out of images to use. Good artist images clearly show the artist's face in them, or at least have the same aesthetic even if the artist isn't clearly visible. On the other hand, bad artist images are too zoomed out so you can't even really make out who it is, or they're just too distracting, or just something else is off about it. Some artists are harder to find good images compared to others. Some rappers are just very introverted and don't have a lot of pictures online of their face out there in the public, especially more underground ones. But here's a few cool ways I've managed to find cool artist pictures for my thumbnails beyond just looking on Google. First up is Pinterest. This is a cool place to find rare and different photos of rappers, along with just general aesthetic images if you choose to go in that direction with your thumbnails. All you have to do is search up your artist and start browsing. If you find an image you like, you can click onto it and then you'll find more related images below it. Pinterest always has cool and unique images that you can't find easily on Google, so it's always been a go-to for me when looking for thumbnails. Another place you can find rare images of artists is on Instagram. Sometimes the rapper will have those images posted directly onto their profile, but that's not always the case when everybody's trying to be mysterious like Cardi nowadays. Instead, the real sauce is on these artists' fan pages accounts on Instagram. Now, some of these artists have die-hard fans that are somehow able to find and post super rare and unique photos of these artists that you aren't gonna be able to find on Google or Pinterest. And all you need to do to find these images is to just look up your artist and then add fan page or something like that to the search term, and then they're probably gonna start to pop up if they're popular enough. I've used this method a ton, especially for more underground artists that like to stay low-key, but have die-hard fans that will screenshot literally everything they post. Artist pictures aren't the only thumbnails you can post. There's lots of type beat channels that get a ton of views by just posting aesthetic and vibey images that match the sound of their beats. Pinterest is a great place for finding these images like I said earlier, but there's also some cool things you can do with AI to make your own images that you won't find anywhere else. Let's say you find a cool image on Pinterest and we want to use it for our thumbnail. I mean, sure, we can go ahead and post it as is and it'll do fine, but we can also go the extra mile and use AI to make it our own. All right, so let's say we found this image off of Pinterest that we want to go ahead and play around with AI. First thing we're gonna do is just gonna save the image as and put it somewhere on our computer so we can load it up into Discord. Now that we have the image downloaded and we have the Midjourney bot open up in Discord, we're gonna take that image and drag it into Discord. Just drag it into the text like if you're gonna send this to somebody, and then click enter and it's gonna be right there. So now let's go ahead and type in imagine and it's gonna bring up the prompt, and the image is like a truck flying in the air with the girl reaching out. So let's just say something like a car flying through the sky. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna click on the image and drag it down into the prompt and then just click enter and then let it do its thing. What it's gonna do is it's gonna combine the prompt that we gave it with the image that we provided with it as well. And it's gonna create something in a similar vibe, but completely different than the original image we provided. So let's give it a little bit and see what we get. Sometimes it's hit or miss. You can play around with it a bit, and you can even combine two different images together to give completely different vibes. And now it gave us 4 different images based off the inspiration of that one image we gave it originally. This is that image right here, just a girl leaning out the truck. And these are the 4 images it provided us. Now they're obviously kind of wonky, and we can keep playing with it, but you can see where the strength is in this technique. Now that we have our thumbnails figured out, let's go ahead and do a walkthrough of posting a real beat on my channel so that we can cover the title and everything else that goes into uploading. All right, so we're gonna first just drag in the video of our beat into this little area right here. And I already have some defaults set here, but there's some things in here that got changed. So just ignore that and let's just start with the title. So this is gonna be a yeet type beat, and the title of the beat is called Dip. So all we wanna do, we wanna keep our title super simple. You're gonna wanna follow this titling method no matter what your niche is. So just follow along with what I'm about to do. So we're gonna start off by typing these little brackets and then type in free in all uppercase. And then this is gonna be a yeet type beat. So we're typing in yeet type beat dash, and I'm putting the name of the beat in quotation quotes, whatever the fuck those are called. Okay, whatever, dip. And that's it. You wanna keep your title super simple. Like, depending on what your niche is and what you're aiming for, I would only put 1 to 2 artists or genres in the title, and then just the name of the beat, and that's it. I used to put my producer tag at the end, or my producer name at the end of each beat, but now I don't. I just took that out. I put my producer credit and any other collaborators in the description, and I just keep my actual YouTube title completely super simple. So now that we have that done, I'm gonna go over here, get the link for my beat, come back here, and I'm gonna put that into the buy or free download. And I'm gonna just remove this section right here because I used to do that, but now I don't. We're gonna go ahead and type in the key and BPM of the beat. This is gonna be 144 D minor. I'm gonna copy and paste the name of the beat, type in right there, and then I'll put parentheses, prod by Troy Vicious, me, Tours, and Jack Zorana, which are the other 2 producers on this beat. And that's where we can give credit there. You can also press return and then type in an @ and you can type in their YouTube. So like, this is Taurus, this is his Instagram or his YouTube. We'll go ahead and tag him there. And let's go ahead and find Jack too. Jack Zorana. I'm not sure which one is his, but let's do that one. And then I'm gonna go ahead and remove this. I'm gonna change this out with my website, which is just troyvicious.com. And then I have a little section like this here. We're gonna go ahead and remove that. And this is all I do to my descriptions. You see, we're keeping it super simple. We're just putting the download link at the very top. We're putting the key and BPM information so that information is there for the artist. We're putting the name of the beat again with any collaborators in the title too so that they can get their credit. We're putting our contact information, and I'm also just putting this little spiel at the end just explaining the rights of using the free beat or whatever. And then we're gonna go ahead and click upload thumbnail. We're gonna find that thumbnail in here. Once that's uploaded, we're gonna click down here, scroll down, no, it's not made for kids. We're gonna keep scrolling. We're gonna find our tags. Since this is a yeet type beat, we're gonna type in yeet type beat. Then we're gonna type in free yeet type beat. Then we're gonna type in yeet type beat 2024 and then free yeet type beat 2024. These are the same 4 keywords I include for any artist or genre we're doing. You want to include the type beat and then free type beat, and then also like to throw in the year too. That also kind of helps the SEO a little bit, but it doesn't make a crazy difference. I just like to do it just cause. What I'm also gonna do is type in my own name and then prod my own name, and then also the names of the collaborators too. You know, we can kind of get a little bit more SEO off of their clout as well, so might as well take advantage of it. Then we're gonna keep scrolling. That's it right there. Go to monetization. If you're monetized, go ahead and turn that on. Then go to ad suitability, scroll down. We don't gotta worry about any of that stuff. Submit that rating. Video elements, I always like to add. I always click import from latest video, but it is always just a 1 video, 1 subscribe. And I just let it pick the best video for the viewer, and then it puts the subscribe button over here in the other corner. Then we're gonna click save. That's it. We can either upload this video right away or we can schedule it out for later. And that's all it takes to upload your beats onto YouTube and find good titles for them. So let's get into the rest of the video. Picking a schedule to post your beats that you can stick to for the long run is essential. Most type beat channels won't grow overnight, and it's probably gonna take you months, if not years of posting before you start to see the results you want. You need to know realistically what your output of good beats is. While top tier producers can crank out multiple platinum sounding beats every single day, there's other producers that have a wife and kids that may only be able to do so a couple times a week. Quantity over quality has been brought up a lot in the discussion when it comes to posting consistency, but in my opinion, it's a lot better to release 2 to 3 amazing beats a week than it is to post 7 mid ones just to keep up with someone else's schedule. Picking the right niche is essential for your channel. You may be the type of producer who just wants to create and post whatever they feel like making, but if you want to grow your channel seriously and start to make sales, you're going to need to pick a direction to go in and stick with it. I like to think that for newer channels, it's okay to play around and post different types of beats that they like to make in the beginning, but once you're ready to grind it out, you really need to narrow down your focus. You also need to think long term when it comes to your niche. Is this genre that you're choosing something you can see yourself focusing on realistically for a year or longer? Or are you gonna get tired of this sound quick because it's not something you're really passionate about? Once you establish your channel's niche and start to develop your audience, it's really tough to expand from there, especially to completely new and unrelated niches if your tastes grow. Some niches are also gonna have more money in them compared to others, even if they appear very popular and have a lot of search traffic. From my own personal experience, my niche was in the underground SoundCloud type of genre. You know, think artists like Sofego, Yeet, Ken Carson, etc. I didn't realize it at the time, but a lot of artists looking for those types of beats are very young, and that means they don't have a lot of money, if any, to spend on beats. Now, when you compare this niche to other genres with less search traffic, but are filled with more established and mature audiences, the difference is night and day in the amount of money you can make, so keep that in mind. You also don't have to build up to a certain niche or anything like that. Like, you might think that for mainstream artists like Drake or Future, it's pointless for you to start posting on a brand new channel their types of beats, but if your beats are fire, they're gonna get attention no matter what. So just start posting a niche you wanna be a part of right away. You're also gonna wanna include a bit of variety in your niche as well. Like, this doesn't mean you sometimes drop a trap beat if your niche is smooth, baby making R&B type beats, but you also wanna allow yourself some wiggle room to grow in your niche in case you start to get tired of it. I was able to grow my channel exponentially by posting the right beats at the right time. My channel really started to take off when I started posting Sofego type beats, which was coincidentally right before he was about to blow up and sign to Travis Scott. Now, before that, he was already buzzing a bit in the underground for a while, so there was already a demand for his style of beats, but he wasn't mainstream enough that other producers were posting those beats, which created a gap in the market that I was able to come in, fill, and profit off of. If you can manage to do the same with your niche and channel, you'll see the fastest growth and the sales that come with it. The people that profit the most from any opportunity in any field are the ones that come first, and that applies to selling beats as well. If you can create a new wave, or at least catch onto it fast enough before everybody else does, you'll set yourself up to be in a good place. Now, this isn't a new way to grow your channel at all. In fact, I got this very strategy from Ant Chamberlain in his Producer Grind interview back in like 2019 or 2020, where he was able to do the same thing with Roddy Ricch and G Herbo type beats. You can also use tools like vidIQ to find these gaps in the market, but to really know which artists are gonna blow up before everybody else does, it involves you being deeply tapped into the niche that you're a part of. That's why being passionate about your niche and style are important, because you'll be able to anticipate the direction of that genre by just being a super fan of the artists in it and the communities in it as well. Most producers just start off by including links to their beats on BeatStars in the description of the type beat videos, or they might even have a simple site built with the pro page. But if you really want to take your beat sales to the next level and up that conversion rate, you're gonna need your own custom website. Now relax, you don't need to be a web developer or know how to code to create a custom beat selling website. In fact, you can make beautiful websites just like this without even writing a single line of code. We make our beat selling websites using a platform called WordPress. WordPress lets you make websites easily without having to write any code, and it gives you complete control over every aspect of your site. We don't recommend you use a platform like Shopify to sell your beats, because that's catered more towards other types of products, and it doesn't really make sense with the types of website you want to build. WordPress is also completely free to use. You only need to buy web hosting and a domain for your site, which is extremely affordable, especially compared to Shopify and other platforms. Once you have WordPress downloaded on your site, you're gonna wanna use a tool called Elementor to actually build it out. This is what's gonna give you complete control over the design, and it's gonna allow you to use different widgets to make your website look professional. You can also get started with Elementor completely for free, and the pro version of it only costs like $59 a year. Now that your YouTube channel is good to go and your website is built out, we can get into arguably the most important part of your marketing strategy, email marketing. Email marketing is by far gonna be the best thing that you can do to create and nurture a relationship with artists on autopilot. And it's definitely not something you need to be intimidated by. I always knew back in the day that developing a proper email marketing strategy was important to selling more beats consistently, but at the time it just seemed too daunting for whatever reason, and I never really took advantage of it. But if I only knew what I knew about email marketing today, then that wouldn't be the issue. Now, yes, email marketing is a way to make more sales, but it doesn't have to be in a scummy and pushy way like you might imagine it to be. You're not gonna be blasting artists with annoying spam emails, desperately trying to make a sale, or at least you shouldn't be. You should look at email marketing as simply a tool to connect with and sell to artists after they discovered you on YouTube or social media and downloaded one of your beats for free. Getting a lot of YouTube views is great, but that traffic may not last forever, and if you rely on only making new connections to sell beats, rather than trying to get repeat business from your former customers, you're gonna find yourself in a bad spot if those views ever start to go away. We have another video already up that's an hour-long training on email marketing completely for free on the channel that you guys can check out below. So I'm only gonna cover the two biggest issues producers face with email marketing in this video. Most producers either don't know how to grow their list and start nurturing it, or they've already grown a list through free downloads, but they've never sent that list anything or engaged with it in any way. Now, the simplest way to grow your email list is to offer free downloads of your beats in exchange for the artist's email. This is what's called a lead magnet, and that's how we convince people to give us their contact information and consent to us sending them further emails. Notice how I didn't say anything about buying an email list from some sketchy producer, because that's not how you should be building your email list at all. If you do that and start blasting out emails, you're gonna go straight to spam, and it's all gonna be a waste of your money. So just don't even do that and build your own list organically. When you're building your list, you may think that you're gonna wait till you get 500 or 1,000 emails before sending it to them, but that's also wrong. You should be engaging with your list right away, even if there's only 5 people on it. Because once you grow your list to whatever arbitrary number you pick, most of those people are already gonna forget who you are when you start sending to them, and they're just gonna ignore you and send you to spam. You might have already been growing your email list for a while now, and you might have even gotten hundreds or even thousands of emails on your list, but they might have just been sitting there because you never engaged with them. Or maybe you played around with email marketing before, but your open rates are terrible and it really never went anywhere. If you try and start sending regular campaigns to this list without prior action, you're more than likely gonna also end up in your spam folder. To avoid this, you're gonna have to first warm up your domain so that you can build trust with different email providers. And then you're gonna wanna run what's called a win-back campaign in order to separate the artists who are actually interested in your beats from the ones who aren't anymore. We go more into this in that hour-long video I was telling you about earlier. And if you also want a full mini course on reviving your dead email list step by step, along with templates that you can install and implement easily, check that link out down below in the description. Now that we've discussed email marketing, let's move on to another way to promote your beats online, which is by posting on social media. Growing on social media can be a great way to connect with more artists, grow your personal brand, and sell more beats, but you first have to ask yourself a question. Are you a content creator who dabbles in music, or are you a musician who utilizes social media to grow their career? The answer to this question determines your social media strategy and how much time and effort you should be putting towards growing on those platforms. Most producers who want to sell beats are probably going to find themselves in the latter. Short form content has blown up in the last few years, and honestly, it doesn't look like it's going anywhere anytime soon. You might have even played around with it before by posting your beats with simple visualizers on platforms like Instagram Reels or TikToks, but there's a more effective ways that you can create content to reach your goals. The first thing you want to focus on when it comes to making content for social media is to make sure that you're creating content for the correct audience. You might think posting beat breakdowns and tutorials will get you more exposure as a producer, which it will, but from other producers. Now, this isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it shouldn't be your main focus if you're trying to sell beats, because producers don't buy beats, they buy plugins and sound kits. An example of a producer who does great on social media is Lex Noir. He posts skits that artists find funny and relatable, along with opens and duet challenges from the Hop On and Uses beats. If you take inspiration from his content and want to do something similar with your own twist, you can use a tool called ManyChat alongside your videos. ManyChat lets you run chat automations on social media that lets artists sign onto your email list and get free beats by simply leaving a comment on your video with the keyword that you choose, or by sending you a DM with that same keyword. This can be a great way to connect with artists and build your email through social media platforms outside of YouTube. We've been using ManyChat a ton lately for our agency clients, so let me know if you guys want a video talking more about that. Networking with other producers is a great way to expand your opportunities and meet like-minded producers at the same time. And it's always gonna be a great way to sell more beats. I've talked about it before in other videos, but producers like Kavi have made hundreds of thousands of dollars by just sending their loops out to other producers who sold beats using them. Collaboration is important because unless you wanna stay 100% on YouTube and are completely satisfied with being a digital hermit, you're gonna need to reach out to other producers to build your team. It's always easier to network horizontally rather than vertically. This means reaching out to producers closer to the same level you're currently at in your career versus reaching out to the top dog producers. Now, this doesn't mean you shouldn't shoot your shot and try to reach out and work with your favorite industry producers, but you should focus the majority of your efforts closer to going up with those around you. Networking also doesn't have to be complicated at all. If you want to send your stuff to industry producers who aren't as well known as other producers like TM88 or Metro Boomin, you can go to genius.com and look up recent projects coming out where you can hear your beats or loops on, and then look through the production credits. You'll probably find names of a bunch of lesser known producers who are already tapped in, but aren't as popular as guys like Metro Boomin, so it's easier to try and tap in with them and build a genuine relationship with them. The same goes for bigger type beat producers. You can look up the niche you're in and find the biggest producers in it, and do the same by reaching out with them and genuinely trying to work with them. When you're trying to network with other producers, you're gonna wanna make sure that your social media profiles are on point and that it's obvious that you're a producer grinding. You don't want them to be confused on who you are or if you're just a random person because it's just a bunch of random photos of your dog with no beats or song snippets at all to show for. Now, you might have seen certain producers offering beat collabs in exchange for money. Now, most of the time, these are not worth it at all, but in very specific circumstances, they can be a shortcut in your networking game. An obvious example of a paid collab that isn't worth it is from some random producer offering collabs for $100, but they only have one random Young Thug snippet with their beat or loop and not much else to show for. Now, you may think they're super tapped in with Young Thug because of that snippet, but in reality, they may have no real connection to anyone close to him, and they only got that feature through chance, or worse, they even lied about it. However, some major industry producers do offer paid collabs, and if you're in the right spot in your career, they may be worth paying for even if they cost like $200 or something like that. But this is only if, and a big if, your music and loops are a 10 out of 10 and will blow them away instantly and make them follow you back and want to keep working with you. Because this is where the real value in paid collabs are. You're not paying for the beat you guys collaborate on. You're paying to make a connection that it would have taken you otherwise years to build organically, if ever. I have a personal example I can share. I bought a collab from Cody a few years ago for like $200, and I didn't know what I'm telling you at the time, but to be honest, I wasn't really expecting much of it either. I just kind of wanted to do it for fun, but it was cool to see him follow me back and want me to continue sending him stuff for free after the collab, which meant that he liked my loops enough for us to keep working and for me to keep regularly sending him packs like any other producer he would work with. I got a couple of cool features and beat snippets through that one collab, but if I was going hard with loops and really want to lock in with him, who knows what other crazy placements I would have gotten. I might have even been the next internet money member, I don't know. Now, we've gone over a lot in this video, and to end it off, I want to talk about scaling your beat business once you start to make a good amount of sales consistently. To scale your business correctly, you'll need to understand and raise two values: your average order value and your customer lifetime value. It's a lot easier to scale your business when your customers become returning customers versus constantly having to reach new artists. Especially when we're at the mercy of the YouTube algorithm for plays and exposure, it's extremely important to maximize the value you get from each customer who chooses to work with you. This doesn't mean you nickel and dime them to get an extra buck. It means you provide more than enough value so that they keep choosing to work with you and come back to you to take advantage of your deals and offers. Bulk deals are a great way to provide additional value to customers, but you need to do it correctly. You might have seen producers offer deals such as buy one, get one free, or buy one, get 20 free, thinking it'll get artists to want to shop with them more. But that's not the right way to go about it. The whole point of the bulk deal is to incentivize the artist to buy more than just one beat. That's why we see buy two, get one, or buy two, get two deals working way more effectively. The artist may have only been interested in wanting to buy one beat from you, but they might have had their eyes on some of the other tracks in your store, so they'll consider adding those to their purchase to save money while still getting more value from their purchase. Building relationships through email marketing and other means is always an effective way to increase your customer lifetime value as well. With email marketing, you can nurture those relationships on autopilot, which will lead to increased trust between you and your customers, encouraging them to come back to you every time they need new beats. The worst thing you can do when an artist purchases a beat from you is to never contact them or reach out to them at all. Even if they were only ever interested in like buying the one beat they bought from you, just you reaching out and saying thank you and following up with your email marketing platform means a lot and will leave a great impression on them, making them more likely to come back to you. Offering additional services is a great way to earn more money as a producer, especially if you want to become a full-time one. Diversifying your income is essential because you never know when one market's going to go into a drought for periods of time, no matter how successful you are in that market. And if that's the only way you make money, well then you're shit out of luck. Here's a few additional services you can start offering alongside your online beat selling business. You can offer recording, mixing, and mastering services. You can sell custom beats. You can sell sample packs. You can offer music lessons. You can get into sync licensing. You can start doing video and podcast editing. You can try and get some gigs doing some live sound engineering. You can even get into artist management and A&R services. There's honestly so much you can do. Obviously, some of these things require more skills than it takes to simply sell your beats online, but every producer is different and has their own unique skills they can tap into and bring to the table. Every producer is gonna need additional tools in their tool belt to make their lives as a creative professional easier. Here's a few of our favorite tools that we recommend here. And now, what happens if someone uses a beat of yours without paying? Well, first off, relax and don't worry about it too much, honestly. Most artists who steal beats are not serious about their craft and will only ever get a few hundred streams max, if even that. That obviously doesn't make their theft right, but it's not like they're taking real money out of your pocket. And you can even use this as an opportunity to try and make a sale. Now, it's easy to get all worked up and file a DMCA takedown right away, or even send a long-winded emotional message calling them this and that. But instead, you should treat this as an opportunity to make a new connection. I've had plenty of artists steal beats from me, and when I found out, I just messaged them saying, hey, I saw you use my beat, but didn't purchase a lease, and then I send a link along with that. A lot of the times they're apologetic about it or whatever, and they just end up purchasing the lease. And even if they don't want to, or they just simply ignore you, then you can look into doing a DMCA takedown, which is well within your legal right to do. For Spotify, you can simply go to the link that I'm gonna include in the description to fill out all relevant information to do a takedown, and I'll also include the link for Apple Music as well. Now, before you submit these claims, double check that the beat is actually stolen, because I thought a beat of mine was used without a lease before, but when I double checked the purchases of that beat, I found out that I was mistaken actually. And you might be subject to legal consequences if you file false takedowns. So just take a chill pill and relax before you make any irrational decisions, and triple check everything. This video has been literally everything I know about selling beats online compressed into one big ass video for you to watch and learn from. This video has taken literally weeks of my life to put together, because I truly wanted it to be one of the best resources out there for selling beats online in 2024. Now, I really hope you guys found this video valuable, and if you do, please subscribe to the channel and show some love in the comments down below.